and also, you know, women tend to work across party lines. I think that, you know, the Women's Caucus in the legislature is very bipartisan, and I think other women, while they may lean one way or another on an issue, they see that as a good success. And
women are less ego-centered and more problem solving.
No, I mean, we want to get it fixed.
Right.
And that's another good thing. If you want somebody to fix something, if you want somebody to get something done, hello,
yeah.
who are you asking?
No filibustering here. All about folks who get it done. During the 2008 presidential election, we heard several people talk about Hillary Clinton's pantsuits, traveling pantsuits, and that she was too masculine. On the opposite side, individuals focused more on Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin's beauty and the fact that she had young children. Why do you think this occurred? Considering that Georgia's relatively conservative in places outside of Atlanta, do you think that the way that women look at and define traditional femininity could be reasons why women have not cracked the political glass ceiling here in Georgia?
These are great questions.
Yeah, courtesy of our chair.
Good job.
I have to say that I mean, as the oldest in this group, I think I have seen that this is changing a little bit. Now, when you put it up on the presidential scale, then of course it becomes, you know, an issue. But I think in state politics, it's much less. Appearances are much less than important than maybe they are at the national level. But if you think about it, it all does come down to competency. But there has to be a certain normalcy to appearances, and I think women can be a lot more flexible today than they could have been 20 years ago. I mean, I remember in the workplace, you know, or even wearing pants was, you know, you know, we had those little ties, we had those little bows, blouses with the little bows, and I always felt, you know, I was fortunate because I was kind of in a creative field. I always felt like, well, I had the license, I could be a little more creative than that. But, you know, still, if you look at attorneys that, you know, that go to court, I mean, they have dress codes at law firms. I mean, you have to look a certain way and all of that. And so, but I do think in politics, you have to have the look of competence, the look of confidence. You have to have, you know, an appearance that's credible. But I don't think that the details are as important as they might have been. I mean, actually, when I was going through school and in journalism, the weather girls, you know, were still seen as kind of the, you know, the ditzes, and you didn't have any women reading news. And I always kind of rebelled against the weather because, you know, I didn't want to be perceived as less than somebody who could read the news. And I thought of that the other day and thought, gosh, things have really changed, you know. But so things change, but they change slowly. And it's up to us as women to prove our competency and our ability to look the part as well as, you know, be the part.
That's amazing that in your lifetime you've seen that change.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a big change.
Yeah, it is a huge change.
Yeah.
I mean, the girls today, women today, you know, can prove themselves on a much more level field than we ever had.
Much more with their brains than their
Well,
bodies.
well, let's hope that the Sarah Palin example, in a twisted way, is a good example. Because what made her, I mean, it still defies logic to me that anyone thinks that because she had ovaries and I liked Hillary Clinton, and if Hillary wasn't in the race, well, I would pick the other person with ovaries. I mean, that just defies logic to me. But apparently some people applied that logic. But I think the good news is, okay, it's exciting, she's new, she's fresh, she's kind of cute, whatever. But the good news is, when people thought about it and analyzed it, did they want a vice president who was cute? Or did they want a vice president who, might be able to be capable of being president? And I mean, the good news is, I think that if you look at it on the whole, in America people said, fine, she's cute, whatever, not qualified to be president. So what matters is, yes, it matters how you present yourself, let's not be foolish, right? But again, you have to be professional and put the best foot forward and know your audience. But the important thing is, really, substance does matter. And we should all be glad it does.
Do you think she put us back a couple of years?
I think because she wasn't successful just because she was cute or had a good personality, you know? I mean, I think if she had been successful, then yeah, I think that would have put us many steps back.
And I think that's one reason why she was popular to Republicans, is because they tend to want to put women kind of back in, you know, a more sexist role. Beauty pageant role. And so, I mean, she seemed to be the perfect person. So I do think it was I was very proud that Hillary Clinton could be competent and attractive. But you know, she was going to always, any woman is going to always pull some of that
absolutely
sexist.
I was thinking, you know, if we had a Gina Davis in reality, if we had a Laura Roslin from, you know, Battlestar Galactica in reality, right, that would be very powerful. Because we've had John Edwards and we've had John F. Kennedy Jr. and you cannot divorce image that is your whole package from your persona. You know, hopefully there's substance and thoughtfulness and intelligence behind that. But I think we've been fighting also, as in a country, intellectually, aka George Bush. I mean, it's not just about Sarah Palin. It's about, you know, a lot of people said, hey, I feel like I could go have a beer with him. I don't really want my president to have a beer with me. I want my president to be handling crises. And, you know, if he wants to go have a beer on his own, that's fine. Or she wants to go have a beer on her own, that's fine. But I do think that we tend to think of this, but guys get it too. Image, you know, the way you look in running for office. You know, we have people that come, especially when I ran statewide, the makeup, the clothes, you know, the whole look. Being a beauty queen isn't hurtful if you've got the substance behind you, because I don't think that we want to diminish people of all different physical attributes, as well as people with challenges to run for office. It's that how do we get past that? And, you know, I mean, we think of this past year when folks were thinking, well, where's the good-looking guy on the Republican side? You know, I mean, I heard that a few times. So I don't want to, I think we all have a challenge whenever you're in a room with folks that are perceived to have that edge physically. You know, you've got to deal with it, but it's how do we show the competence, and how do we then push back at the reporters and push back at the media and say, where's the substance behind this? You know, where's the debate? Not just, oh, Joe, you know, say it isn't so. And it's like, what about, you know, the real substance of, you know, not only can I see Russia from my backyard, but, you know, I've sat down at the table with Russia and we went through and talked about, you know, Anwar, and we talked about shipping agreements, and we talked about, you know, let's do that. And I really think that we've got to look beyond, you know, that and really push hard at the substance of issues. But it's on both sides. I think that women tend to get their backs up with a character like Sarah Palin. But look at Gina Davis. I mean, we all love that character on TV. And I think that broke a lot of models.
Well, I think you have to say, too, when you see the articles in the paper that are about the color of the suit a woman candidate wore, I mean, I think we have to do that, write in on the comments and go, why didn't you talk about the color tie Joe and Bob were wearing? I mean, you know, I mean, let's get down to business. You know, how do they feel about public education? How do they feel about jobs in the economy? And try to stop those things, because that's the foolishness. You know, let's analyze Hillary Clinton's past 20 haircuts. Whatever. You know, I mean, how is that news? But of course, we won't even get into talking about what's news these days. So.
Or that guy from Illinois' hair, what's his name?
Yeah. And I think that we also have to be able to speak up to those people around us, because I was very much on the edge of my seat with a lot of my fellow women colleagues of mine. When they announced Sarah Palin, I was like, I wonder what they're going to think. Are they going to, you know, because I knew a lot of these women were independents. They weren't Democrats, they weren't Republicans. And I was so relieved when I heard, but what's her policy on this? you know, how much, she's only been a governor for how many months? What did she do? She ran a city, you know, how many people live in Alaska? And you know, and the sad part is, I also think that we have to be careful about diminishing her as a human being, because she is a human being, and I just wouldn't have wanted, I think since